Howdy, my name is CXCD, and I'm in a slight pickle. Well, it looks like my hours are numbered, and I have until that power number hits 0% to live. So, what to do? First of all, I might as well enjoy the time that I have left. And hey, did you know that Springlocks are not actually that dangerous? Now, you gotta hear me out. Really, you have to hear me out on this, please. I am not going crazy, despite where I am, despite the things I am seeing, the big steel men crawling in the vents. I'm not going crazy. Springlocks were introduced all the way back in FNAF 3, and we were told over and over and over again exactly how dangerous they were. Hell, we've actually seen them fail multiple times throughout the books, the movie, and the novel. Why'd I say books? Hold on. Throughout the games, the movie, and a book. But what I am proposing seems downright preposterous, right? If the Springlocks are that dangerous, why am I sitting here telling you they're not actually that dangerous? First, we need to look at what exactly Springlocks even are. After all, if Freddy Fazbear gets through that door, I'm gonna need to know what the hell they're gonna put me into. Springlocks suits are a very neat invention made by none other than the William Afton for a very specific purpose. Two purposes, actually. Their default mode is animatronic mode, and their secondary mode is costume mode. You take the animatronic off stage, put a hand crank into like its neck or something, and crank away the endoskeleton and push the endoskeleton back. It creates just enough room for a human person to slide inside of and pilot it like a costume mascot. A little bit like Disney World. That sounds all so well and dandy. How could this invention ever go wrong? For some inexplainable reason, the Springlocks are, as the name implies, spring-loaded. Meaning if for whatever reason the Springlocks were to disengage while someone is wearing the suits, have you ever seen what a toothpaste tube looks like when you squeeze all the toothpaste out of it? Yeah, but here's the thing. I already told you that... We still got enough power, we're good. I already told you that Springlock suits aren't that dangerous, yet I just gave you an absolutely gruesome visual representation of what were to happen if a Springlock suit were to fail. But here's the thing that I believe. After analyzing the game and the book and the movie and all this different jazz, I believe Springlock suits still aren't that dangerous. I believe that if you were to properly train somebody how to properly use a suit, the chance of a Springlock failure goes down dramatically. The chance of a Springlock failure turns almost to zero. Almost. Murray's Costume Manor outright just says that they will willingly hire teenagers with no experience to pilot these Springlock suits because they knew they were dangerous. And therefore, if they were to fail, it's simply just cheaper for them to hire random teenagers off the street to pilot these highly dangerous suits and not train them, because training costs more money than it were to just hire some minimum wage worker. Do you get what I'm saying here? I think that whenever we hear there's a Springlock failure in the games, and the movies, and the books, 9 times out of 10, it's just some random teenager who doesn't know what they're doing. Or somebody who wasn't experienced enough to actually pilot a Springlock suit. When a Springlock suit is properly worn, the chance of a Springlock suit goes down to almost zero. Once again, almost. And now already I could hear your keyboards typing in the comments. What about when Afton died in FNAF 3 and the movie and the novel? We've actually seen what happened when they fail. Listen, I'm gonna go down through every single Springlock failure that we've ever seen, almost every Springlock failure we've ever seen, and explain to you why it's not the suit's reason why it failed, but it was actually the wearer's fault. Every single time. Now, we're gonna be comparing this to a teenager wielding a chainsaw, okay? If you hire a teenager to be a lumberjack and you give them a chainsaw with zero experience, zero training, zero supervision, and the teenager hurts themselves by a tree falling on them, the chainsaw kicking in their face, or something, are you gonna blame the chainsaw for doing that to the teenager, or are you gonna blame the guy who willingly went out of his way to not train the teenager to handle a chainsaw? You're gonna blame the guy who knows it's dangerous, but will still actively not train the teenager, right? Okay, let's get into this. The first time I ever see a Springlock suit fail, actually, that's wrong. This isn't actually the first time. We actually hear Phone Guy tell us that Springlock suit failed, but we don't really know what that is. Or at least I don't. Maybe somebody else figured it out. The first Springlock failure we actually see on screen is in FNAF 3. We see Mr. William Afton himself sprint to his famous yellow bunny suit, get in it, and kerchunk. But here we go. I don't think this is the fault of the suit. I think this is the fault of its environmental conditions. It's the fault of poor negligence on Afton's part, right? I mean, I feel like I'm being Matt Pat right now by saying, well, the environment is damp, but it is. The environment is damp, it's wet, there's leaks in the roof, the suit was just in the back room being unmaintained. And we know in the movie that the suit was ill-maintained when he gets spring-locked. I'll get to that in a minute, but the suit is just nasty. The suit failed because it was ill-maintained. It failed because the spring locks were wet and moist and he got in it and started laughing. And it really shouldn't be a surprise when the spring locks fail. So let's compare this to the teenager with a chainsaw, huh? Let's say you really need to cut down a tree. So what you do is you grab the only chainsaw you can find. The chainsaw is rusted to hell. It's leaking oil, it's very obviously busted, okay? You understand that by using this chainsaw, things are going to go wrong. But you still use the chainsaw and it blows up in your face. Are you blaming the chainsaw for that? That you willingly chose to pilot something that's so unbelievably rusted and broken and ill-maintained? No, you blame yourself because you're the one. Can you shut up? I'm trying to do something here. I still have 20% power left. I'm totally fine. Anyway, the next time we see a spring-lock failure is in the novelization, or I guess the book, but I'm just doing the novelization since it's easier to show. But Dave, aka William Afton, gets spring-locked here and dragged away by the animatronics in a scene that is very, very reminiscent of the actual movie. But the spring-trap spring-lock wasn't caused by William Afton here. The suit wasn't ill-maintained, and they didn't just randomly happen to fire off. What actually happens is Charlie reaches her hand up in Springtrap's gullet and manually pulls his spring lock open to cause it to snap shut. The only reason why the spring lock suit failed is because Charlie manually set it off. If somebody manually pokes your chainsaw that's running with a stick and the stick flies back and impales you in the eye, once again, it's not the fault of the chainsaw, it's the fault of the motherfucker who put a stick in the chainsaw. And finally, for the last spring-lock failure on this list, we have the movie. Ah, yes, the movie. Now, I understand there are more spring-lock failures. I believe they showed a few more in the book. With a Z, S with an S, books. I'm just going over the actual main spring-lock failures. And there was also, apparently there were spring-lock failures in Secret of the Mimic, or not. They talked about them, they never showed them, they just say that they spring-lock failed the costumes. Anyway, we're not talking about that today because we're trying to keep this video underneath 6.5 hours long. So we're just going over this 3, and the last one is the movie. The lights turn on him. The animatronics remember what he did to them. And then a big cupcake comes and grabs a piece of his suit off, and that's when they activate the spring locks. It goes, ah! Remember that part of the movie? I remember that part of the movie. Once again, one more time, if someone manually sets off the spring locks with the intent to cause harm, and then they do that, it's not the fault of the suit. I don't even know if I can compare this one to a chainsaw. Like, it might just be the stick example again, right? Let's try something different. Let's say you write a computer program, okay? And you tell the computer program to delete all your files. You run the program, and then it does that. You wrote the damn program. You click the enter key knowing what it does, right? Maybe that's a really shit comparison, but still. Like, it's not the fault of the spring locks that the spring locks went off. I feel like throughout all of Five Nights at Freddy's, we've always been told that the spring locks going off is just something that just kind of happens. Or at least that's how I thought it was. I thought the spring locks were just really, really sensitive. And even a slight brush against them while in the suit will cause them to trigger. But I don't think that's the case anymore. I think they're actually really, really, I don't want to say well-designed, but they're a lot tougher than we give them credit for. And, why is that light red? Oh, there's 10% battery left. We gotta hurry this up before I die. So far, every spring lock failure we've seen has just been a fault of outside environmental conditions that cause spring locks to fail. We've seen the direct result of a suit being neglected. Actually 2 times, somebody manually setting off the spring locks. And we know that Fazbear Entertainment will willingly hire teenagers who don't know how to use the suits to use the suits, and then because it's cheaper that way. So when they get kerchunked, you know, less money. But I do want that power bar is getting really low. I do want to point out that Springlock suits actually have certain advantages to them. Springlock suits can outright turn the wearer into Iron Man. Look at this suit. Doesn't it look neglected, ill-maintained? Yet the spring locks don't trigger until the cupcake, or Craig, whatever his name is, rips an entire panel off of his body. As a matter of fact, the spring locks don't even go off when he gets tased or shot. with a gun. He even goes as far as to push Mike over and then kick him with enough force to make him go flying into the air. And the Springlocks, throughout being shot, tased, pushed, kicked, do not go off. And the suit does not look like it's in peak operating condition. It looks like, I think I heard this from that one guy with the animatronic OC. The suit looks like William Afton just found it, or just like took it out of storage. It doesn't look like he's been keeping it maintained at all. We also keep in mind that William Afton, these suits are designed to be performed in. They're designed to do jiggy dances with and interact with kids. And think about it like this. If the suits are so easily triggered, then how in God's name did William Afton murder so many children in it? Like, listen, I'm not speaking from experience. I don't know the trades here, but I would imagine murdering people takes a lot of physical effort, right? Am I right by saying that? I would imagine murdering is a physically demanding process. You know, pulling a knife in, out, stabbing, and not once while he was murdering children did his Springlocks go off. And not once while murdering children did the Springlocks go out. Oh, God almighty. Well, this is the end for me. Alright, before I die, before Freddy comes to that door and murders me, I gotta say, Springlocks are terribly designed. Who the hell designed these things? Surely it's not that much more effort to just put on a costume. Why do you need the animatronic to be the suit? Why can't you do it like Chuck E. Cheese has been doing it for 40 years? Just have a separate mascot outfit to get into. Plus, why is the default position of the Springlock suit animatronic mode? Why isn't the default position suit mode? So when they were to fail, there is absolutely no way a human could get injured in the process. You know, I'm just gonna say it, controversially, I don't think William Afton is as smart as he makes him out to be. He's out to be. It makes him out to as hard to be. There, I said it. I don't even care. Who designs suits like this? A machinist? He's an absolute moron, and there is nothing you can tell me that will convince me otherwise. Sure, he knows how to design suits, but he designs the most terrible suits. Come get me, Freddy. I'm ready for you. You heard me, Freddy. I think your creator's an absolute moron. Freddy? Freddy? Oh, I guess there was no, crazy animatronic killer. That's unfortunate. It was all just my imagination. I guess all my terror and fear came from my fear of the FNAF community. What I've said today proves nothing. It's just my raw, unfiltered thoughts. This is not meant to be taken seriously, and it's barely a theory. My biggest fear is that people will think I'm trying to push an agenda or something. Like, I really, really believe that this is true, and you gotta listen to it, otherwise you're wrong. That's not what I'm saying at all. At the end of the day, I just like to talk. So please, don't take my words seriously. I'm not trying to convince anyone of anything. I just think that this is really fun to talk about. So, that's about it for today. Remember, kids are always intolerance, and if you're new here, please subscribe. This is my first FNAF video. I'm trying to escape some other fandom, which I really don't like anymore. So, please subscribe. I'll see you guys later, and... Oh. There was a Freddy Fazbear at the door. Okay.
Johnny, don't leave me. You said you